What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for episode 30 of Guardians franchise, and we are on the cusp of spring training 2028, which means I did the whole offseason. Now, for once, I didn't back myself into a corner and say, oh, I'll pick up at the Rule 5 or on January 1st or this, that, or the other. I said it could be Rule 5, it could be the start of spring training, because I knew that I was really excited to dive in and get the offseason going. So I knew that there was a chance that I was just going to push all the way through before doing another video. Then there was also the fact that I had all three of my fantasy football drafts this past weekend in a 4-day span, which is great. They're all three of them are live. It's groups of guys that I've been with for over a decade in each of them. So, I would have recorded more on the weekend, but I'm glad that I had that awesome weekend doing all those football drafts because it is the best time to see those guys. We always make plans to say, oh, we'll do this, that, and the other during the season, and it rarely comes together how we think. So that one guaranteed time of year to see those guys is great. We've even got some folks that fly in for it because they've since moved out. So it's awesome to see that, including one of my best friends, who's also named Paul, by the way. So I only hang out with people with my same name because I can't remember other names. Anyway, let's dive in. We've got a ton to cover because, again, the offseason is effectively over outside of spring training, which isn't even the offseason, it's the preseason. So with the awards, I don't have much to report. We didn't get any gold gloves or platinum stick winners here. Just calling out some notable names here. You see some second straight winners here with George Kirby, Ali Sanchez, Rafael Devers, and Cameron Cawley, each getting their second straight. Now this is interesting where Devers has the second straight, but Brian Ramos, oh wait, that's their second ever, not second straight. I'm a goofus. I got confused because Kirby, Sanchez, and Cawley are all two-time twice in a row winners, and I absentmindedly said that meant, that's what that two meant. No, that's just their number ever. So it was Devers' second, but he hadn't won his, he won his first way back when, and probably at third base, right? Okay, yeah. So 3 years ago at third base, not bad in 2024 for Rafael Devers to get a third base gold glove. Getting him over at first base, that's cool and all, but you're moving down the defensive spectrum. So, nicely done there. Parker Meadows, obviously as a Tiger fan, I like seeing that even in the fictional world, even though he is, the enemy in a Guardians franchise. He's been great for the Tigers in real life right now as they make an interesting run. I don't know that it'll amount to anything because I just don't know if they have enough pitching, but I love watching competitive ball for my favorite team in September. Well, it's September. One game of September so far, and then a nice August run. In the National League, Adley Rutschman won his, wait, did I? No, this is silver. Jesus, I'm all over the map, y'all. The funniest part about that is I've already had a bunch of flubs, and this is my fifth start, peeling behind the curtain a little bit. I'm not doing the sixth, okay? So I said Adley Rutschman as if he got traded because I thought I was still on gold gloves. I'm on silver sluggers. He won his third. They're also called platinum sticks, and I like that name. That's why I keep it. I changed it to gold gloves, but I like the platinum stick. I think that's a cool secondary name for it, so I like that, and I usually keep it. Devers did get his fourth. Holiday gets his third in a row. Colson Montgomery gets his first. Corey Seager gets his sixth. His streak was broken up. He had 3 in a row. Gunnar interrupted him, and then he got his sixth there. Colton Cowser, Jason Dominguez, and Adolis Garcia. I was like, that better not be Avisel Garcia. But they all get there first, as does Tristan Casas over at DH. The NL ones, I'm just going to show them on screen. If you want to pause, you can look, because we're not as concerned about the NL. I like to keep up with it and at least show it for those that want to see all that. Did you hear the way I whistled that when I said show? I don't know, I must have pursed my lips in a weird way. And then the National League's Platinum Sticks, Riley getting his fourth. That's pretty cool. Pete Crow Armstrong, like Parker Meadows, having a big surge down the stretch to bring his team back into the race there for the Cubs in real life. They've been playing a lot better ball. And then Corbin Carroll gets his second. Brian Reynolds over at DH. Never the best fielder, so I'm not that surprised here in 2027, which is the year that he won it for, that he's playing DH. It's just, you don't think of him as necessarily having a good enough bat to win a Silver Slugger at DH specifically. Then for the big awards, we have Colton Cowser winning the MVP for the Baltimore Orioles. We got Garrett Cole winning his second Cy Young there for the Yankees. Braden Montgomery for the Red Sox wins Rookie of the Year with a hell of a season. And Felix Bautista wins his second Reliever of the Year. We did have Almon and Clase third and fourth in Reliever of the Year. So there's something there. Sonny Gray was 5th in Cy Young. I did offer him a qualifying offer, which he declined. Tristan McKenzie was 9th in Cy Young, and then Lonnie White Jr. was 15th in MVP. So we didn't really do much there, but we still had a great season. We won 100 games. It's hard to be too upset about that. Looking at the National League, you got Corbin Carroll, Jacob Mizorowski. Jacob Mizorowski winning a Cy is impressive. Makito Nakamoto, a international created guy who came over from Japan to pop off with Miami and is now immediately in Atlanta. This is interesting. So they get him. He comes over at a pretty elevated age. That was his age 31 season last year. He puts up a 93 WRC plus, which is whatever, 23 homers. So it wasn't a huge crop of NL rookies, it looks like. But he played pretty well, ends up having a 2-WAR season, so he's okay. But then Miami says, we'll trade for him, and they give Jorge Polanco a 6th-round pick and $1.5 million. Okay, I guess. Miami had him and then traded him to Atlanta. I reversed that there the way I said it. And then Giovanni Gallegos, a favorite of mine who has very much fallen on hard times in real life, has not done so in this universe. Now, maybe he could have the rebirth that he did in our universe, because he was terrible in 24 and 25. So did fall off the way he has in real life, but then rebounded with, 2 absolutely amazing seasons. And that can happen with relievers. So I wouldn't even be that surprised. And just to put it in context, in real life this year, in 20 2/3, Gallegos has a 6.53 ERA and a 1.65 WHIP. He's been wretched. In fact, I think he was cut by the Cardinals, and he's now bouncing around in the Twins minor league. But with relievers, they're so dang volatile. Even the best ones are tough to rely on from year to year because of their small samples. And then when they're dead in the water, if it's not because of injury and you feel like you can still tweak something with their stuff, they can rebound. And so there you go. 2 of the best years. I mean, damn near ever. Like, these are brilliant seasons. So he didn't just rebound to be good again. He rebounded to go to the top. And Cincinnati really found something there. They suffered through that first bad year in 2025, and then something clicked in 26-27. So Giovanni Gallegos looking pretty good. All right, let's get into the offseason. So a lot happened. First things first, in the midst of the kind of the pre-arb, where we're making some of the offers and seeing where the dust will settle, we talked a bit about some of that stuff last episode and some of the guys that I thought maybe wouldn't stick around that we could trade. And I will say I had some poor assessments of guys. I had some guys that I was like, we'll move him. We don't need this guy. And then as I got deeper into it, I'm like, wait a minute. Nah, you need to keep this guy. And I think the two that stand out to me that I was kind of dogging, that I ended up not really trading, mainly, I will say this, a lot of it is because their value was not particularly high, but then also when I realized what they could deliver for us for their price, I thought that Tanner Bybee and Kyle Bradish were definitely better than I was kind of giving them credit for, right? They're kind of boring, all 50s and 55s across the board, but they were coming in, I think, at like 9 and 10 million each, respectively, and it just wasn't too cost prohibitive to keep them around. So they were putting some things, they were discussed, but nothing ever materialized. That said, we did make some big moves. Now, the first thing that I did, and I'm going to type names over here instead of navigating too much around the screens so I don't just blow everything for those of you that are watching the screen intently. So the first thing that we did was stay in-house. We talked to our boy Joey Cantio, a guy that, you've been watching, even if you're just watching this sim, you know how much I love him. But if you're watching some of my old sims, I've sought him out to pick him up in different sims. He's done well for me. I like his prospects in real life, even though he's not having a great year with Cleveland. I believe in this lefty. And so he's emerged into a really nice arm for us. He is coming off of his worst year, and yet I still felt compelled to talk long-term with him. Because when we did the ARB offer, he was into it right away as well, which was great. And I like when the player in question is saying, "Hey, you ready to talk long term?" Because sometimes I'm not always thinking about that. I will maybe put it off till their last or second to last year of team control, when sometimes you want to get ahead of it. And that's exactly what we did here with Joey Cantio. We offered him a long-term contract, and ladies and gentlemen, he accepted. So what we have for Joey Cantio is a 6-year, $94 million deal that will pay him 5, 10, 15, and 18 over the next 4 years, 3 of which are his ARB years, but then we do get the one free agent year at $18 million, age 31. Then he can opt out If he doesn't, then we have the team option for 22 and 24 million respectively at ages 32 and 33 in 2032 and 33. So I think, we're giving him some real money here. It was higher than his, this year wasn't. This year was a little bit lower than his ARB estimate. I think it was 6, but then the next 2 years are higher. And, trying to give him some committed guaranteed money right now because he's a little bit older, right? Like, he's not old, but age 28, I can't be doing like 6, 7 guaranteed years. So I tried to work up something that works for both sides here. Gives him 4 guaranteed years, puts us in control for those last 2 when the prices start to jump up. And we locked in our lefty now, who I think at the very least should age gracefully into a mid-rotation guy. He's a frontliner right now, R1 or 2, but he can age into something even better. But as you might remember from the last episode, the primary thing I thought we needed was pitching. So re-signing Cantio is great for the future, but doesn't really do anything to improve our pitching this year. And that was, I thought, the big mandate that we had to do was go out and try to improve the pitching, which meant keeping guys like Bradish and Bybee, like I said, keep that depth going, but also improving the front end. So really do both things here. Increase the depth and increase the top end talent. Usually you're kind of doing a one or the other. I wanted to do both. We're a 100-win team. We are really trying to put strength on this team. And by the way, I will say in this instance, I would give up the former, the depth, for the latter, which was that top end talent. In this instance with the pitching, we didn't necessarily have to. Kept guys like Bybee and Bradish while also adding. So I went around and made some offers, and I'm going to show you some of the guys that didn't work before I get into the one that does. So we were looking at Shane Baz over in Tampa Bay, who, is coming off a really strong season, 201 innings. It was a 4.20 ERA, so really strong might be overstating it, but I really like that he put up his first 200-inning campaign, 124 whip, solid, but a 360 FIP. The skills were there, 25% K rate, 7% walk. You see the elements for how Baz can be a stud. And the year before that was brilliant. It was cut down a little bit to 144 innings, but a 2.49 ERA, 109 whip. Looks like he might have been returning from injury because he also pitched 2 games in AAA, which leads me to believe that he was on rehab, et cetera, et cetera. And the year before that, Shane Baz led the league in ERA at 3.06. So this is a guy who's put some numbers on the board, and I thought maybe, I don't want to say buying low, because let's be honest, Tampa Bay was not saying, here you go, have him. They wanted something in return, and they should. But I was thinking maybe get in when maybe his stock isn't at its highest and get ourselves a potential ace. He's going to be age 28 this year, and I really thought that could work. Well, it didn't quite come to fruition. They were really, really asking pretty big. In fact, I think I could probably look at, oh no, never mind. I was going to say I could look at some of the offers that we gave, but I've since traded the primary piece in that, so that won't work. But anyway, I looked at him, I thought, okay, could this work? Yes, it could. Then Tampa Bay basically said, no, it can't because we want a lot. And then I went to a team that we battle here in the American League. And in fact, if you look at our league history, they're the reigning World Series champions, the Seattle Mariners, a team that is having a very nice sim here. As you can see, they've made the playoffs the last 2 years. They won the World Series. I guess maybe, I thought they'd made the playoffs pretty much every year that we've been doing this. They missed it the first 2 years. So anytime you win a World Series in a 4-year span, I would say that that's still a very good sim, but I mentally overstated it because I was thinking that they made 4 straight playoff runs. But they made it the last 2 years, and they won the World Series this year. So we know that their real-life team is so pitching heavy that, that is where they draw their strength, but the offense is so weak that they are now at major risk of not making the playoffs. Well, in this universe, they probably dealt with some of that in 24 and 25, but in 26 and 27, they made the playoffs, and then they won it this year, and they still have that great pitching though. So I started talking with them. And first things first, I, of course, started off with George Kirby because he's one of my favorite real-life pitchers. I love the top of the scale control and command for him. Command, as I always explain, is different from control. It's putting the ball wherever you want it, not just in the zone, whereas control is just putting it in the zone. He mixes both. The biggest place that command shows is in your home run rate. So when I see a guy with 70 control and 60 home run, the command and control is absolutely pinpoint. So I was looking at him. Workhorse, 200 plus innings each of the last 4 years, 191 innings the year before that, like the quintessential workhorse stud. And we did get some good negotiations going. I will say things were a bit close, but I continued to look around, because there's also the fact that he's making some money. Now, I don't think he had this yet. He did not have this extension, because I know that would have been an instant non-starter for me. So he was going to make 29 mil, and I'm like, okay, that's basically our big free agent move. And then we can decide if we want to re-sign him. As you can see, they have subsequently re-signed him, and more power to him, because they're paying for their ace and they're going to keep him there forever. So good on them. But push come to shove, I just couldn't quite get there. So instead of leaving the team, I decided, okay, let's check another guy. How about Bryan Woo? And what is he if not a Kirby clone of sorts? He also brings the 70 control. He doesn't quite have the same home run, where it's 50 versus Kirby's 60, but he gets 60 BABIP versus the 55 of Kirby, and he gets a 10-point edge and stuff, 60 to 50 there. So all in all, it's still another great pitcher, which again is the strength of this ball club. He's got 3 straight 200-inning seasons. He was the reigning Cy Young that previous season, 2027, the season we just went through, after a 2.65 ERA, 0.97 WHIP combo. Now, he fell down to 444, 117. I wasn't too worried about it. Yes, the home runs went up, and that was probably the biggest culprit, half a home run per 9. And the strikeouts came down. Actually, there's a few different factors here as I'm looking at it. The BABIP also went up 32 points. Okay, so there was no single smoking gun. But either way, a bit worse, and I had that same mental thinking of maybe the computer's asking less because he's coming off of a tougher season as opposed to the Cy Young campaign. And this one did get close, even closer than Kirby, because they were asking just a little bit less. And so I was thinking Bryan Woo is going to be our next gem. And I believe that he had this deal in tow. Does it say when they signed an extension? Yes, 6/11/2026. So he had this deal in tow, and I was comfortable with it. Bryan Woo is going to make 12 this year, then 19 and 21 at ages 30 and 31. I had no problem with that. Put him at the top of our rotation, as our one or two, and I'm good with it. But I kept searching. I think I did do a little investigation on Gilbert, but I moved away from him just because I think they wanted a touch more than they did for Woo, and I was just like, well, I'd rather just take Woo. So I did look at one more Seattle pitcher, and I was like, okay, never mind. I would just take Woo at that point, but I will keep searching. So I kept searching around, and I finally landed on where we were going to go. And I see Bryce Miller here, and I was like, you know what? That reminds me of somebody else. B. Miller. And so the deal we ended up making, folks, was we acquired Bobby Miller. Now, having one of the most disappointing seasons in the league this year, in real life, and it's a total bummer, but I still fully believe in him, and I will be drafting him again for next year, assuming he's healthy, right? Because I think when healthy, he's still going to be a monster. But in our universe, he hasn't had as many trials and tribulations. His 2024 was actually excellent. He did fall off course a bit in 2025, his first with the Rangers, because he was traded from the Dodgers to the Rangers, but it wasn't even as bad as he's had this year, because really this year, our real life 2024, has really just been an injury washout season for him. He's never been right, hasn't had success when he has been healthy, hasn't been healthy all that often. I think it's just kind of a throwaway season. We'll see what he does down the stretch here and in the playoffs, but I still have confidence in Bobby Miller. But anyway, he rebounded from his dud 2025 with an excellent 2026 and then a pretty good 2027 that was really only stopped by injury. So we are buying him off of an injury down season where he only threw 69 2/3, but 3.75 ERA, 103 WHIP. I figure, okay, let's take the chance because he brings the 65 65 control and 60 home run with a 65 potential. So again, that command and control focus, and he only costs 10.4 mil with control beyond this. I think we have 2 more years of control for Bobby Miller. So the number one question would be, what did it cost? Now, the core of this deal that I'm going to get to was prominent throughout all these offers. So you might have a preference on somebody else you liked. And if you do, you can say, so, what was the difference between Bobby Miller and Shane Boston? Things like that. And I can maybe detail it a bit more. But here's what we ended up giving. we had to trade Royce Lewis. That was the number one piece that I felt like we could trade. And you know that was so hard for me, y'all, because you know how much I love Royce. But it had to be done. I mean, we talked about having the depth of Rocchio and how great that was, and it was. To have a guy like this who can just bounce around the infield all day and just spot somebody every day, that's super valuable. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a waste. Brian Rocchio should be playing 150 games if he's willing, if he's able, if he's healthy and able. And so just having him as depth, I didn't think made as much sense anymore. So Royce Lewis was the centerpiece, and he was joined by Bo Naylor. Self-explanatory, right? We had to move on from Bo Naylor. I just lost confidence in him. I couldn't trust him as an everyday guy, even against righties. He just is not making the grade with us. I mean, he's been dreadful. Plain and simple, he's been terrible. And while his catching is actually now bypassed that of Patrick Bailey, which is really disappointing because I love Bailey so much, that still wasn't getting him in the lineup. We've got guys coming, waiting in the wings. We got Edinson Duran, who was a backup this year, and then another guy, Jeremy Saylor, who's coming and ready to take over the starting job with his defense. If he had a little bit more hitting, I don't even know if Patrick Bailey would still be here. But anyway, Lewis and Naylor headlined, but then we also had to give Franco Alamon 3.42 ERA, 118 WHIP in 121 innings. We love him as our super stopper. We got 111 innings out of him the year before, although he did have 15 starts, but a lot of those did not really go 5 innings because starting did not really work. As you can see, at a 5.03 ERA. I tried, and it didn't work, so he went back into the bullpen. And then the year before that, he had 117 and 2/3 innings, 71 appearances. So we like him mostly as a super stopper. But hey, what do I always talk about as our primary strength? The ability to cultivate relievers. And so if I can get, make this guy be part of a big return, I think we can move on from him as opposed to maybe a fundamental prospect or another big piece from the team. Because the asks were big for Boz, Wu, Kirby, and Miller. Like, we were going to have to give. Now, like I said, Lewis was the number one constant. He was in every single one of the deals, and then the pieces kind of worked around from there. And then when I found out that we could give Alamon, and he would take the place of one of the big prospects that a lot of other teams were looking for, that was very compelling to me. So Lewis, Naylor, Alamon is definitely the foundation of the trade. Jaquan Washington, you might remember as, I think, a 3rd round pick. Yeah, 3rd round pick, 98th overall, but he was a reliever from day one. Only had 2 pitches, and I was like, you know what? We'll take him, maybe we trade him. And that's exactly what we ended up doing, because he's only going to be a reliever. We could find a guy like this. He's not going to pay off for us for a long time anyway. Easy inclusion there with Jaquan Washington. And then also Edgar Liriano, who was the last piece to make it work, right? It was that last one. It's like, okay, make it work. Here's a bunch of guys. The throw-in piece, right? So there you go. Don't even worry about him. Focus on the other 4 guys because he's not moving the needle. So Lewis, Naylor, Alamon, Washington for Bobby Miller, who, again, take a look. Ace, frontliner. Maybe not bona fide, unquestioned, unmitigated ace, but like definitely a frontliner. I still have Cantio as our opening day starter, kind of like, he's been here longer, he's the dude type of guy, but then Miller's right there. There are lefty, righty, 1-2 punch, 1-1A, however you want to call it. But we didn't just get those 2, because again, we gave a lot. We didn't just get Miller. We gave a lot. So we got a couple other compelling pieces with him. Number 1 being Anthony Gutierrez, who is a fragile outfielder of 23 years old. Just kind of green down the board, but triple 65s in the outfield, which I really like. So a solid backup outfielder who's going to be a AAA for us. The fragility is a bummer and kind of undercuts him a little bit, but there's still a lot to like here, and maybe he develops a bit. There is some potential 5s here and there that maybe he could round into like a 55, 60 grade player if things really pan out. One thing I didn't do that I can do right now, because I'm thinking about it, is check his relationships with our personnel. So the hitting coach has a good relationship with Gutierrez. The bench coach has an excellent relationship with him. Let's go. Okay, that's fantastic. So that's good. And then our other piece is Cole Carrig or Carrig. I don't know which one it is. I'm going to go with Carrig. Cole Carrick is a utility fielder, can literally play every position except for first, even catcher. He doesn't play catcher well, but it's on there. Speedy guy with a little bit of a bat. It's a contact-heavy bat that can gap it up a little bit. No power and eye to speak of, so your traditional kind of like 8-9 hitter, super utility guy. I'm getting like Shane Halter, Brandon Inge type vibes. Like, I'm going to force it through the Tigers prism, but that's the best that I can do off the dome there with Carrick. So he's fine. Neither of these guys I think are particularly game-changing, but they add to our depth, and I think that it ended up being a pretty nice deal here. And so I'm curious what y'all think. This was our blockbuster. This really kind of set up the offseason. This was done on November 14th in the game, and so this laid the foundation for everything. So let's continue on and get you caught up on everything else that we did, because we weren't done there, folks. I will say we had money going in. We did finish arbitration without too much fanfare, except for one bit. I've been mentioning this guy a bunch, Tanner Bybee, and we did end up keeping him, as you can clearly see here. But he got pissed. He got pissed at me during the ARB, and I think I even showed a little bit of this on the last episode where I was trying to show you guys the 95%, the just over 95% of arbitration offers trick. And it wasn't working with him. And so it was making me look like a dumbass, like, oh yeah, this trick is awesome, Paul. But I was like, what the hell's going on? And even when I did it up to like 97%, he just wasn't having it. And I guess there's the occasional guy that'll just be like that. I have had it happen before. I don't know what it is, but some guys are just going to hold firm. And he doesn't even have like high financial ambition. He just is being an asshole about it. So then I kind of got a little petty with our offer, and I offered him 3.3 mil, which was lower than all the other offers I was giving him. And he beat us. He got 4.5 from us. So good on you, I guess. But I don't know what you were being so bent out of shape about. Houston won the lottery. They were the 5th ranked team in the lottery, but they ended up getting the first pick. I forget who. I think Portland lost out on the first pick, but they got 3rd, something like that. So I'm not as dialed in on sharing that info because we're not part of it. If that's something you guys do want every offseason, I can be sure to include it, but you'll see it at the draft anyway. And again, I think as long as we're not involved, does it really matter? Then the Rule 5. We actually ended up getting kind of murked at the Rule 5. Now, none of these guys really bothered me that we lost them, but we did lose 3 guys. First one is a guy that I actually still like quite a bit in real life, Ken Waldichuk. Interesting arm for Oakland. We'll see if he can continue to develop with them. But Houston ended up scooping him. He's got 55 stuff, homer, and BABIP, but only 45 control, which really cuts out a reliever-type profile and why he was in our AAA. Best of luck to Houston getting something out of him. I mean, he's not a bad pitcher, and I could see how this works if the walks don't kill him. And then another guy who was actually kind of the opposite of this. The walks definitely won't kill him because Michael Soroka's #1 trait is control. He's basically an inverted version of Ken Waldichuk, and Tampa Bay took a shot on him with the 60 control, 50 homer and BABIP, and then 45 stuff. He has high work ethic. He is still just 30 years old. He's been in our consciousness for a very long time, and even here in 2028 in this universe, he's only 30. So hopefully he can still knock around like this in real life and actually find a bout of health, because I really thought he was going to be a dude. Like, not ace, but that really strong number 2, number 3, like a Jordan Zimmerman type for 5, 6, 7 years, and injuries have just absolutely cooked him for quite some time. And then finally, Jackson Humphreys. Probably a guy I haven't really mentioned all that much. He was in our system, 23 years old. I didn't think I had to protect him. He also has a low work ethic. Like, I saw that he was available. There was a handful of 45s that we had available. I was like, I don't think any of these guys are really going to go, and if they do, I don't think it's a crushing loss for us. So he's looking a lot like Waldichuk. He only has 50 stuff instead of 55, but then everything else is the same. But like I said, low work ethic for the 23-year-old. There's a chance he gets returned. So I'm not even that worried about it. Bottom line is, it's a reliever unless he somehow develops with the Cubs. And if they do develop him, then you tip your cap and you say, no problem. He's a lefty. I see why they took a shot. So that was Rule 5. We lost 3 guys, and we didn't take anybody, by the way. I should point that out. Now, I did mention that I offered Sonny Gray a qualifying offer because he wanted 22+ mil per year and like a 4-year deal. And so I was like, he's not going to take it. And if he does, fine. I actually wouldn't have a problem with that. But I just wasn't going to give a 38-year-old a multi-year deal. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do that. So he declined it. He ends up signing with Washington on a 3-year deal, which I didn't even want to do that. 3 years, $63.6 million. So it's $21.2 million per year. Now, he has been pitching very well. He's a little bumpy with us after the trade in 2026, but his composite season was still pretty good. And then he had a really nice year last year, 3.31 ERA, 1.21 WHIP. So he could continue to age gracefully. Not a risk I wanted to take. And we do get a first-round compensation pick for Sonny Gray. So I'll take that. The worst case that was going to be was we were going to pay him like $18.9 million. And the best case is that we got the pick. So what happened in free agency? Now, there were some interesting guys available, and I can go take us through some of those guys that signed big deals. We actually made one of the first big signings. So maybe I'll go down this order. I'll go descending order just since one of the last guys will be our big signing. So Alexis Diaz got a 3-year, $73 million deal from the Rangers, which he's really, really good. Okay, I was going to talk shit, and then I see an 0.69 ERA, 0.92 WHIP with brilliant ratings, and I don't hate it as much. It is very pricey for a reliever. There's just no two ways around it, but if you're going to pay big, you pay for somebody that's this skilled. And then we've got, let's see here, Gregory Soto. I try to do like $10 million or more per year. He's 9.8, so okay. He barely misses, but I'll give him a little hat tip there. He got 3 years, $29.4 million. Yohan Duran, speaking of relievers making money, $28.2 million per year on a 4-year deal with the White Sox, with the Giants, and it's a 3-year deal. So I got 2 major pieces wrong there somehow. But he's even better than Diaz. I mean, look at this. 80 stuff, 60 homer, 55 BABIP in control. Gross. Now, he's not coming off an 0.69 ERA like Diaz was, but still, he's amazing. It's really hard to pay a reliever $30 million, y'all. So I actually did talk to him a little bit, but I was nowhere near this. I was trying to give him like $23 million this year and then scale it way down to like $18 million for like 2 more years or something. It was janky. Basically, what I was trying to do was get on his radar so that if he didn't sign, he would come back around to us. So I think quite literally the game day, like in game the day after I talked with him, he signed with the Giants. He's like, oh, if these are the other bullshit offers I'm getting, I'm just going to run to the Giants. So you're welcome, Giants. I did you a solid there with my shit offer. Then we've got Sam Hentges getting 3 years, 32. Cool. Brian Abreu getting 1 year, 12.6. So a lot of relievers here. Where are the big dogs? Isaac Paredes got 5 years, 118 from the White Sox. So now he goes to the other Chicago, and he's pretty good. Now he's coming off a tough year. Excuse me, that's false. I was looking at this Texas line here, but he got traded. So he got traded from Tampa Bay to Texas. So in our universe, he never gets traded to the Cubs. So he isn't playing for both Chicagos. He just stays with Tampa Bay for a while, continues to put up good seasons with them, gets traded to Texas at the deadline. Doesn't do so well, but that does not dampen his free agency market because he still had a 4-WAR season, 39 homers, 96 ribbies. So how much could you really try to get a discount because of 61 games with Texas? But they paid big. Now he's only 29 years old, but they paid 5 years, $23.6 million per. That's not too bad. He should age well. Now the 40 BABIP could make the batting average be continually difficult, but he also never strikes out. So with the ball in play that much, he could certainly luck into some decent batting averages too. Maybe not even luck into it, just kind of like, no, I will stick with luck into it because that's what you kind of have to do when you don't have a good BABIP here. So you have to turn some of those ground ball outs into like just under their glove or just out of their reach. Maybe get some Derek Jeters fielding against him, and then he can hit like 280 for a year. I hate how you have to scroll back down here on this. It drives me nuts. I know I've been bitching about that for years, but it's still annoying. Felix Bautista, $25.8 million for St. Louis. Jesus, dude, these relievers. I haven't taken a full-scale look at this yet. I was going to do it live. And so I'm just seeing this with y'all. All these freaking relievers signing for the crazy money. Camilo Duvall, $17.4 million on a 3-year deal, $52.2. Yuki Matsui, 3 years, $33.6. Oh my God, there's a Sonny Gray deal. Reynaldo Lopez goes to Jacksonville, 4 years, $71 million. Let's see how he's been doing since he left us. All right, so he went to Texas, and he pitched brilliantly. That's right, we remember that. Because I even said I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Now, the reason it happened was not because his skills took off and things just started to work for him. In fact, he deserved a 2.69 ERA with us, 2.68 with us, when he had a 19% strikeout minus walk, but he got a 6.07. And then with Texas, he probably deserves something closer to the 6.07 because he only had an 8% strikeout minus walk. So what did it then? A 2.05 BABIP. I'm sorry, it's really that simple. A 2.05 BABIP is why Raylo had that good of a season. There's just no two ways around it. All right, and then I think we're getting to our guy here. Our big free agent signing was, drum roll. Oh, Luis Robert signed for 6 years, 180 mil, basically 179.2. Dylan Carlson, nope, I meant Will Smith, 5 years, 112 with Boston. Robert re-signed with the White Sox, by the way. And then Michael King, 5 years, 71. I actually did look at Michael King. And then Tyler Glasnow, Shane McClanahan. Oh, wait, there's our guy. I screwed it. Shane McClanahan is our guy. So I botched the whole drum roll and everything there. Tyler Glasnow, I have PTSD from a previous sim where I signed him and he literally vanished. He Thanos'd in front of us. I might have even mentioned that on the last episode. But Shane McClanahan was our big free agent signing. So we inked the lefty to a 3-year, $66 million deal, front-loaded for $27 million this year, $22 next, and $17 after that. Ages 31 through 33. I feel really good about this deal. He has been solid as can be during this sim. Now, he did miss 24 because he was hurt, but then, just like in real life, but then 366, 399, and 356 ERAs the last 3 years with full workloads, 32, 32, and 33 starts, 116, 124, and 124 whip totals. The one issue is the home runs are a bit high, 1.5, 1.5, and 1.1. So it's a little spicy there. Oh, sweet, J.K. Simmons is at the Tigers-Padres game. He goes to a Tigers game in California once a year, at least, I should say. He might go to more, but at least once when they're visiting in California, and then he'll be in the booth probably later tonight. Or maybe he was the inning before this, I don't know. It's only the second inning, so it'll be later if he goes up. It's usually when they're in Anaheim is where I usually remember him, but I love J.K. Simmons, and he loves the Tigers, so that makes him even cooler. Anyway, so McClanahan's our big ticket item. So like I said, I went out. I addressed the pitching, y'all. I said, we got to get this pitching going, and we did. So what does that do for our rotation? Now, we run out of Cantio, Miller, McClanahan, Castillo, McKenzie top 5. That's pretty spicy. I'm pretty freaking amped about that. 60 grade McKenzie is our 5. 70 grade Castillo is our 4. Come on, y'all. We've got a rotation. So those were the primary moves that we made. The Bobby Miller trade and the Shane McClanahan signing. I knew it wasn't going to be a super aggro offseason in terms of a ton of moves because we just didn't have a ton to make. And that's okay because, like I said in last episode, we're a 100-win team. We don't have to go out and just move things to move them. So I feel really good about where this rotation's at. I'm not going to do the team rundown yet because I'm going to do spring, and I'll do that leading into April. So, I'm going to do a few more things here. I'm going to do international amateur free agents, tell you about one minor league free agent I signed, and then do the first run of the Dev Lab results, and then end this episode. And the next episode, we will start opening day. I'll give the roster, and we'll get through April. Maybe even April and May, we'll see. But anyway, next up is international amateur free agency, and we ended up going and getting ourselves some interesting players here. First things first, we brought in Ignacio Trevino. Let me find him. Where's the best way to find him? Right here. First off, let's put him on our top prospects list. So, 16-year-old outfielder with high adaptability, work ethic, and intelligence. So beautiful profile with 80 potential power, 65 potential gap, 65 potential avoid K, and then 55 on the BABIP and I. Good speed profile, decent defensive profile, but he's 16, so he can develop. He's just a stud, right? And we know with these international guys, they're going to have so many ebbs and flows in their development. We don't really know what he'll become, but he's just an everything center fielder. So to me, we just kind of gloss over the high level look here, and we check in on these guys as the years develop, because I don't get too excited about them when they're like at least 4 years from kind of being on the cusp of the majors, if not more. So I'm happy to have gotten him. And the real trick here is that we only paid 2.5. So I think one of my flaws, let me just call it that, has been that I don't pay enough attention here to the relation and interest meters in the international market, right? Because I usually just assume that all of the top guys are going to have very high interest, and we're going to have strong to very strong relationships with them, because we're going to scout them throughout the entire period. But I actually took a deeper look at it, and this isn't like a tip or anything. I should have always been doing this. I'm basically roasting myself, because what I found with Ignacio was that the league interest wasn't very high. I think it was just the second level, which is high. So, he wasn't hidden, but everyone wasn't on him. Meanwhile, our relationship with him was very strong. So I jumped on Trevino right away. He wanted like 1.6 or 1.7 was the initial. I didn't even bother with that. I jumped right to 2.5 and he insta-signed. So that was awesome. So then, of course, we still had some more money, and I tried to go for a couple of other interesting guys, but we just got run out a little bit. First one was Mauricio Thrash Posada, and you can see here he's kind of a compelling third base profile, big time power guy, decent defense, again, that could develop, just a good player, obviously, or it could be, but he ended up getting up to 3.69. When I was talking to him, again, he was at 1.7. I jumped right up to our max, which I think was in 2.4. What is the total for this period? Let me see here. The total's 5.7. And what did I say we spent on Trevino? 2.5. Okay, so we had 2.2. Or 3.2, excuse me, 3.2. So, once I got to that 3.2 mark, it was over. And so we couldn't get anywhere with Posada. And then another guy here, Gianpaolo Fagnini. Now, let's not be immature here with the last name, but Fagnini, I imagine. I doubt it's the hard G sound. We'll see. But anyway, this guy goes to the Mets, another third baseman, power and eye, like just everything you want out of third base. Huge arm for the defense, just as good as Posada, if not a little bit better. Started off, pushed a high deal for him. He's like, no way, you're starting way too low. 4.75 is what he ends up going for, which makes sense. I was just taking a shot there because I was like, oh, maybe we could get this done. And they're like, no, you can't. And so then, I'm just now realizing we did not get the second guy. Oh, we also did not have 5.7. That's right. We did have 2.25. I thought that was right, but I saw all these guys with 5.7. How come they get more? They trade for it? But no, we didn't end up signing a second guy because Posada and Fagnini told me to piss off, and I forgot to follow back up. So, you know what? We'll do it live. Well, we won't do it with that guy. Let's see here. Is this guy gonna take our money? Nope. We're gonna have to sign somebody like maybe not even very good here to spend this money. Maybe this guy will do it. What do we got left? 169? Whatever the hell it was. 185. Wait, no. 165. Ask for a response. Okay. Julio Fury Mendoza. So yeah, I tried with those first two guys, and I knew I wasn't gonna get another big like 80 bat. That was always a pipe dream. But then I clearly got too caught up in the Rule 5 and all that other stuff too. The Rule 5 would have been before that. So I don't even know. I forgot why I didn't follow up and get another hitter or player in general. But that's all right. Because I don't think we really lost out on anybody that good. We got Trevino, he's the stud, and we'll try to get a secondary piece here for something. All right, so then I made one like moderately interesting minor league signing. I can't spell his name apparently. Minor league free agent. Like it's not moving the needle that much. I'm just like, oh, cool. He was available. I don't really know why. Porfirio Barberina. He was on the wire. I don't know why the Twins cut him. They signed him out of an independent league, and then a week later they cut him. Now, I already had him in the org when I saw this. I think if I had seen this when I was trying to sign him, I probably would have just put him back on the Twins. But you know what? I'm always looking out for the computer. I'm always trying to do stuff that isn't too sketchy. I don't think this is like, our next great player that I'm like stealing. I don't really know why they got him. You got him from the independent league. Why wouldn't you keep him? But anyway, Twins get smoked. So we signed Barberina there. Oh, that's why I couldn't get it right. I misspelled his name on my sheet. And finally, for this episode, let's look at the training lab. So, 2-strike approach for Lonnie White Jr. Successful. Let's go. Even though the emails are all red, I'm seeing these with y'all too, because as soon as they came up, I hit record. Well, actually, I hit mark all as red, and then I hit record. I didn't want to go any further because I kind of like unveiling these with y'all. So, strikeout rate worked here, but it doesn't show anything. Okay, so that's interesting. Avoid Ks improves by less than 5. Okay, so it's one of those where it's like it got better, but it's just not showing up on the page here because it didn't get markedly better. So maybe he's a 47 avoid K. All right, so I mean, that's good, I guess. I was really hoping he'd get to that 50 just because it's so nice. Maybe he'll get another tick or two better during spring, and going into opening day, he'll have that 50. But at least it was successful. Charlie Condon's plate discipline program, successful. Current eye improves by less than 5. Okay, but let's see if it showed up anyway. It did not. But the potential gap dropped 5. That's annoying. Anyway, Condon's a god. It doesn't really matter, but I will say the less than 5s, they annoy me because I want to see the change, but it's not the end of the world because at least they're improving. It is making things better, and it doesn't all happen at once, right? And sometimes the guy gets like a big jump. They get like 5+ as opposed to less than 5. Heston Kjersted's bat speed, power, and, we're trying to improve his power. It didn't work. And you know what? That's okay. At least it didn't make him worse. He didn't really have any potential, and so we were trying to play into the high work ethic and hope that he could generate something, but it didn't work. Joey Cantio, his control does not go up. Okay, it's all right. Andres Jimenez, quality of contact does not go up. Damn, that would have been a good one. In fact, his current contact actually dropped. Wait, does it say that in the email? It says no noticeable changes, so that might have happened from something else. Jeremy Saylor. Okay, so this is the other catcher I was telling you about when I said we have a catcher in the minors who could threaten to take the job if he could hit it all. I think he'd be such a dreadful hitter in the majors. Now, that doesn't mean he won't make the majors soon, especially as a backup. But right now, we have Patrick Bailey and Edson Duran, and we're going to stick with them. But look at that glove, y'all. So I was trying to get anything I could with his bat. Excuse me. And since he had 5 potential on the power, I was like, well, maybe. But it didn't work. Wei-Hu Pan gets less than 5 on his control. Okay, that's wonderful, but he's still a 40 control. So, that's still going to leave him a little dicey. Andrew Painter's control. His potential and current both improved by less than 5. Nice to see. I'm still always going to check here. Even though I'm reading the email and I know it says less than 5, I'm still going to look, y'all. And then Kyle Bradish. I ended up moving Kyle Bradish in. I forget when I did that because he wasn't. When I traded Lewis was originally in the dev lab. I put Namgung in there, and his isn't going to finish for another couple weeks because I did that a few game weeks later. But Bradish had no noticeable changes for pitch movement. Okay, so what do we get? 4 up, 5 down, and then 1 or 5 no, I guess, because they didn't lose anything, and then 1 pending. So we have Namgung pending on bat speed, and he's frustrated, so that might not go well. And then I did the second run here with all the defense and base running stuff. We'll see how it goes. I've got Condon trying to improve in left, Mason Hour trying to improve in right, base running for Jimenez, third base for Carrig, catcher for Bailey, second base for Rocchio, base running for Kjerstad, third base for Tena, and defense for Edson Duran. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, there it is, folks. There's the offseason. I feel like it went pretty well. Not a ton of moves, but that doesn't necessarily, volume of moves does not decide whether you had a good offseason or not. I think we had a wonderful offseason here, and I know I'm not showing the entire team, but it's not different. So don't worry, you're not missing anything here with Jimenez, Condon, J-Ram, Kerstead, Lonnie White Jr., Namgung, Rokio, Wilfred Barris, who we got last year, and Patrick Bailey. Like, it's the same dudes hitting, and it's most of the same dudes pitching, except for Miller and McClanahan coming in and really, really solidifying our rotation and giving our pen depth with the trickle down, right? Because now Bradish and Bybee, they're relievers where they can actually maybe make an impact. And then if we have injuries, because every team gets injuries and we probably will, we have capable backups. So I'm really freaking geeked about this. And like I said, next episode, we'll get through spring, hopefully without too much trepidation there in terms of injuries and whatnot. I'll give you the rundown of the team, the last dev lab, stragglers here, with hopefully with some improvement in the bat speed for Namgung, and then these little defensive and speed ones, and then we will get going with the 2028 season. So thank you all so much for watching. Peace.